I was in Lawrenceburg today, so I remembered a very historic haunted location I wanted to visit on Main Street, the Anderson Hotel. The Anderson Hotel is a relic of the past. Its doors have been shuttered, reopened, shuttered again from fires, storm damage, and becoming a flop house. As I pulled up, I noticed that they were still renovating from the recent storm damage that damaged the brick on the front. As I sat in my car and filmed it from the street, you could feel the energy from this place because it is very extremely haunted with paranormal activity. Could the spirits that haunt the Anderson Hotel be sad or evil people that have passed and continue to torment the living? The original hotel was built in this exact spot in the 1800s. An old fire map of the downtown area from the late 1800s shows where the hotel was located and laid out. In 1922, a fire burned the original building to the ground, and the land sat vacant for a few years because they hadn't marked the original property line. When they finally determined who owns what, a new single-story structure called the Crossfield Building opened in 1930. Plans for the new hotel was announced, and developers planned to add a new second story with 25 elaborately furnished rooms, many having private baths, 2 shower rooms, a lounging room, and a writing room. The new hotel opened in 1935. It had a lobby on the first floor with a kitchen in the back. To the left side of the building was a shop called the Louisville Store that also once was a mortuary that burned down. They literally put the floor of the hotel right on top of the ceiling for the lower floor, and all the walls of the hotel are load-bearing walls. The layout of the hotel is a bit strange as well. From the main street, you walk up a flight of stairs to the second floor. To the left, as soon as you walk up the stairs, is an area that held a lobby, a front desk, and an apartment for the manager, and a space where residents could gather to watch television. There are 2 hallways of rooms on the left side of the building, which is often called the new side because it's the most modernized since the 1980s. If you go back to the front and past the stairs, you enter the old part of the hotel. Despite the fact that the first floor once connected the building, this section of the hotel is separated from the other, as you can see through a window in the connecting passageway. The glory days of the hotel didn't linger for very long. The lobby area on the first floor was eliminated, and the right of the first floor became home to the American Grill. Access to the front of the stairway was walled off from the interior, so the only way into the hotel was through the outside door on the main street. In 1944, the operator of the hotel moved out, and the building owner, Mr. Crossfield, installed all new linoleum and carpet throughout the structure and changed the name of the hotel to the Hotel Anderson. In 1947, a fire broke out in one of the hotel rooms, causing $600 in damage. In 1955, Mr. Crossfield sold the property to Mr. Shyrock, and 6 years later, Mr. Shyrock sold it back to Mr. Crossfield. In the 1950s, you could rent a room for $2 a day, and unfortunately, the hotel became a flop house, evolving from hotel to short and long-term apartments available for $5 a day or $7 if you wanted a refrigerator. It became a hotel for people on fixed incomes, the elderly, families of the recently paroled inmates, and people just released from nearby mental hospitals. Once the apartments were closed and shut down, many residents just left all their belongings behind, and if you hadn't paid your rent, the apartment was locked and all your belongings became the property of the hotel. Between the sudden shutdown and the lockouts, there were more than 20 years of people's belongings just left behind. From the late 1960s to 1980s, at least 13 people died in the hotel. Several natural deaths took place, people who were sick and a couple of documented suicides as well. In the 1980s, a girl slit her wrist and bled out on her bed in her room, which was on the new side, which still has the bloody mattress in the room today. 2 of the suicides were hangings in the hotel. Knowing the history of the hotel connects the dots and helps identify who the paranormal hauntings belong to. The hotel has had at least 1 death for every 2 rooms, and that's a lot of energy for a single-story space. Most of the paranormal activity are all on the outside of the building. The Burning Man apparition has lived on a property longer than any others. A mortuary was one of the buildings that once stood on the property and was burned down in the 1800s. There is a spirit of a man from 1978 that hung himself in his room, and he doesn't like women. He pulls their hair, and recorded EVPs have not been very nice. Another room they call the drunk room of a man that drunk himself to death, but it's the most friendly room in the whole building. The new side has an apparition that appears that they call the Grunge Kid because he appears in the room that was cluttered with junk. He is the only full-body apparition seen in the hotel, and he is wearing a flannel shirt, jeans, and has greasy-looking hair and is always staring down at the floor. Each room of the hotel has its own energy, and each room had different people living in them. And each of these rooms absorbs the feelings of these people. You only need to spend a little time inside the hotel walls to realize some of the folks who checked into the Anderson Hotel has never checked out. The hotel rooms still sit with all the old residents' furniture on the 2nd floor. And once the hotel part opens back up, they also give ghost tours. The new owners, Jackson and Betsy, opened up the 1st floor as a new deli called Heavens to Betsy. It is a great deli. I have ate there, but they soon realized that the 2nd floor was very haunted. Oh, did I mention there is also a clown room with a clown that seems to move from room to room? Until next time, let's see what's out there.